And welcome back to another episode of Life in Prison. My name is Zach, and if you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification button so you're first informed when I upload. And for the ones that are returning, as always, I send my utmost love, loyalty, to respect, and you already know I fucking love you guys. So today what we're going to be getting into is jail and prison items that you're allowed to have, more or less. So as you can tell by the t-shirt, this video is sponsored by Stone Cold Collective. My man Caleb over there is booming with the shit. So, as always, got shirts on deck, long sleeves. He's coming out with them hoodies. I've seen them. They're fire. As always, all his product is top notch. So go ahead and just check him out, see what he's working with. And if you're local, you know what I'm saying, it might be a little bit easier. You know what I mean? Thank you very much over at Stone Cold Collective for sponsoring this video. So, when you first get into jail, alright? So, as always, jail, then prison. So, when you first come to jail, there's a few items that they give you offhand, alright? Back in the day, now it's kind of changed, but back in the day, they used to give these flops, okay? They look like, man, they look like some gum glued to your feet, more or less. Like these disgusting looking flops. And a lot of people used to get fucked up with these things. Now they have like these orange Crocs that they hand out. So they give you your slides, you know, your flops. Then they give you 2 sets of oranges. The difference between at Eastern Regional Jail, there's only 2 different types of uniforms. You got the oranges for the regular inmates, and then you have the brown ones for the trusty workers, so that the officials, the jail officials, the COs can, you know, decipher the two, more or less. So you come in, you get your two outfits, you get your 2 long pairs of socks that are old and crusty and dusty as fuck. You get your 2 slingshots, your whitey tidies, your underwear. They don't give you boxers. You have to buy those off Commissary. So when you go into jail, you're getting whitey tidies, and sometimes, unless you got a cool CO that's processing you in, you're going to get some used shit, and there's definitely going to be some snail trails in the back of them whitey tidies. You get a wool blanket, a sheet, and a pillowcase. They don't give you pillows, but they give you pillowcases. They used to give you pillows back in the day, and then they stopped doing it because people obviously hide contraband in it. The mats that they give you, they're like this big. You know what I'm saying? They're not... If you go in and you find a thick mat, it's called a Cadillac. You know, people will buy these things off people just because if you're going to be there for a while, you obviously want something that's comfortable that you're going to be laying on top of concrete for months, years, you know, however long you're going to be there at the jail for. So you obviously want something that's comfortable to sleep on. So some people would get their mats took. If it's a new dude coming in and he's got a Cadillac and he's prey more or less, he's not going to defend himself or stand up for himself. If there's a bigger dude on the pod that, hey, I want that fucking mat, I'm going to get that mat, you know, they'll swap mats out. I've seen some dudes that had, you know, 2 and 3 mats. You know, they live in large, and that's not because someone's now sleeping without mats, because they had pool and they were able to get extra mats from the COs. Once you've got everything situated and you go back to the pod, now's where the fun part starts. See, jail, it's like it goes in tiers. When you first come to jail, they got you in a holding tank with like 15, 20 other people. You don't have your own shit. It's you in your street clothes sitting there waiting for, you know, magistrate court to see if either you're going to bond out or if you're about to go to the back. So that shit sucks. So when you finally get to the back, you're going to get a little starter pack. So most people that go through jail, I've noticed, drink large amounts of caffeine. Coffee. Keefe's got a couple different brands, but most people like the straight Colombian caffeine. A lot of these dudes will trade off a lot of stuff to get these shots of coffee. It's literally like crack to these dudes. So most people when they come in, your starter pack would be a meal, soups, some chips, you know, a little bit of meat somewhere, and some coffee. Most likely a honey bun or a woo woo or some zam zams, you know what I'm saying? Either or, but that's the starter pack. Boom, that's a meal right there. So if you have money, you know, obviously you're gonna go ahead and get your commissary. There you don't have ID cards like you do in prison. You have wristbands. So whenever you put your ID in, order your food. When the commissary comes, they come to the pod instead of prison where you go off to commissary like it's a little convenience store. In jail, it comes to you. So they mostly have in like brown paper bags or these satchels, and you come up, read them, you know, they're gonna make sure that your name matches what the food's going to. Throw all your food in a laundry bag. Since laundry bag, it's kind of a laundry bag is an essential item in jail and in prison. You can use a laundry bag for many things. You can hit motherfuckers over the head with if you got some stuff inside of it. You can use it as to lift weights. You can use it to carry your food, or you can use it to stuff your dirty clothes in. Stuff all your food in the laundry bag, go back to your cell. Phone-wise, you know, now it's different. You know, everything's changing, as I keep saying in my past videos. The jail and prison systems are going to keep changing. So back then, you used to have these, you know, regular telephone booth phones on the wall. You go in, type your number in, see how much money you got, and then you make your phone call. So in certain jails and stuff, you know, if it's a little bit more gang populated, there's certain phones you can and cannot go to. You know what I mean? Prison, some prisons are the same way. There's certain areas you can't walk through either, because if you're, you know, Chicano, or if you're black, or if you're Asian, or if you're white, you're not going to be walking through these sections. They'd have the phone covered up because they'd either be arguing with somebody and they're trying to drown out the sound, or they'd be talking dirty. Say some crazy shit on the phone. Now, they've got kiosks, more or less. They've got these video chat systems where some of these jails, each individual inmate has their own tablet, and they have cameras on these things so they can walk around like it's a cell phone. You can listen to music, you can, you know, check your account, you can email people, you can text people, and you can make video calls and video visits and shit on these things. So back then we didn't have that. Now they either got the tablets or they've got these little kiosk things that you go up to, and it's got a video visit and you can sit there and talk. Martinsburg or West Virginia prison systems have more or less integrated these tablets into their structure, because you take contact visits away. So now these inmates that, you know, their family lives 5, 6, 7 days away from the prison, now they literally cannot come see them. People start wigging the fuck out, right? From a monetization standpoint, obviously they're going to be making money. Now inmates, sometimes they can call all throughout the night, or most of the time, the individuals that I be talking to, you know, I think their tablets shut off, video tablets shut off at, you know, 10, 11 o'clock at night. Certain prisons are different though, even with the tablets. I know some prisons that you have to be in a designated area for the video portion of the visit to work, because they don't want, obviously, people to get a layout of the jail or the facilities. So you can't just walk around the pod in some of these places showing everybody what's going on. A few individuals, like I say, you know, I talked to dudes still at Huttonsville and dudes still up at Mount Olive, and they're even different from the two prisons, you know what I mean? Huttonsville, you have to be in a certain area. Mount Olive, though, so far it's, you know, you can be in the pod. Back then, there used to be a lot of fights over the phone, you know, a lot of fights. People double clicking, you know, there's a line of people trying to talk to their people, especially on the weekends, obviously. So, you know, you got these dudes calling their girl to make sure they ain't out there fucking sucking something. I mean, truth. So, there used to be a lot of fights over these phones, because people would jump line, or they double, boom, you know what I'm saying, go back to back. People would save people's phone space, and they weren't there at the time. So, you know what I'm saying, it can get real messy. Now that each individual has their own stuff, it's a little less, you know, a little less dramatic over the phones. The background wasn't blurred, more or less. You know, it was just like this. Like, if I had something here, even though these are bare walls, and, you know, eventually I will get something on these walls, guys, just bear with me, but you should be able to see everything. But there's a lot of stuff that started going on, and you know, obviously people would start exposing themselves and throwing up gang signs and doing this and doing that, and there was a lot of stuff in the background. So as you can tell, if you go through my past videos, it's blurred. You know, you can see the outline of the inmate and sometimes a little bit more, but everything else is blurred. Whenever you're in the hole and you have the ability to call people, so they're not gonna take you from cell to cell, handcuff you, do all this like they used to, right? But then a lot of times people would get fucked up. You know, people would be out in the shower whenever they're pulling someone else for a phone call. The person for the phone call is, you know what I'm saying, they're shackled because they're at their cell. But the person in the shower isn't. They would either crawl under or over. And there's been a few times people have been stabbed and beat the fuck up by exactly that way. So now what they do, and prison's kind of the same way, now they come to your individual cell with a, we literally call it a cell phone because it comes to your cell and it's a phone, hence cell phone. So it's on wheels. It's got a long ass wire, long ass telephone wire cable going back to the bubble, and they cart it from each individual cell. So you open the bean hole, you'd stick your little arm out, you'd type your number in, you know, type your ID number in and everything else, and then you would squat there at your cell door or sitting there through the bean hole talking to people as the CO is standing there watching you. But you got Sergeant Dickface over here just standing there watching you like. Sometimes the correctional officers that are working in these administrative segregation units or these, you know, the holes more or less, sometimes they're real assholes. And the reason being is most of the time they stay working back there. They don't work the rest of the prisons or jails. So, you know, they're big shit behind that door because they know you will never be able to get out that cell. So if they're always working back there, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of the inmates will take it upon their own hands and get back. So one of the I guess you could say favorite things that inmates like doing is popping their sprinklers. So in most older jails, the sprinklers are exposed, they're sticking out. So, and it doesn't really take much. And there's only so many places to hang things up, so that, you know, people would hang things to let it dry, because the sprinkler would be right in front of the vent that shoots up. So that's a way to talk to your neighbor. So you'd stand there on your bed, talk to your neighbor, and then the sprinkler would be right there. What they would do is around their cell doors, they would stuff towels at the bottom of the crack, and then stuff toilet paper or anything in the doors to prevent the water from flowing out. So they'd pop their sprinkler and let the water build up in their cell. Build. And this water, whenever it's coming out, it's dirty, butt brown, busty, rusty water that's been sitting in these pipes for years, so it's brown and it stinks like a motherfucker. So they let it build up, then they'd slosh through the water, pull the towel out, and then let it rush. We call it a waterfall. You know, people do get charged for this stuff. You know, they have to alert the fire department. Obviously, the alarm started going off, so they have to alert the fire department that there's no issues. Now they have to come in, turn off the water supply. Now they have to get somebody to clean out the whole pod, because now, if you're on the second tier and someone pops their sprinkler like that in the waterfall, it'll fall down for, you know, 5-10 minutes because it's got a little gap coming into the hole, bottom of the door, and it's a lot of water behind in the cell. So the pressure, it shoots out just like a waterfall. So now everyone on the bottom tier, they now have to clog the bottom of their doors up, because now that water will rush into their cells and get all their shit wet. Drugs in jail, you know, I always heard one of these things where it's easier to find drugs in prison than it is on the streets. Yes and no. And reason being is, obviously it depends on what circle and who you hang around on the streets for you to even be around this stuff in the first place. If you're not, it's not one of those things where you got a dude walking around the compound with some shit like, hey, you want to buy some drugs? You'll never see it unless you're in those circles, especially in prison, because obviously if just some randos know that you got some crack or some heroin or some K2 or some weed, you're gonna get ratted on. So it's all behind the scenes, like some secret squirrel shit in prison. But recently, obviously, you know, some of the most, I guess you could say, favored drugs right now at the time in West Virginia prison systems. I can't speak for other ones, but I do know that a lot of these other states have been having issues with K2. So, as I said in another video, how we were getting it in, and before they started photocopying everything, and now you can't even really get mail in prison anymore in West Virginia, they'd break down the crystals with acetone into a liquid form, spray it on paper, spray it, let it dry, spray it, let it dry, then write the letter, send it in, and then you'd smoke it, you know. And you can make a lot of money off this stuff, obviously. Suboxone. With the Suboxone, you know, when you're sitting there, when you're an inmate and you have nothing but time, people try to think of ingenious ways to do criminal activity instead of thinking of genius ways to better their lives. But, you know, I can't fault them. At the end of the day, everyone's got a different mindset. They'd buy the cards that had a little flap in them, and they just glue the flap shut and then stuff 60, 70 Suboxone in there and send it in. And then they started taping the pictures back to back very precisely where you couldn't see anything, and it'd be a dark picture. And the center would be filled up. And then they started hiding behind the stamps, and then, you know, the licky part on the envelopes. In jail and in prison, there's only so many hiding spaces, not only in your cell, but out in the pod. Mind you, the structures of these buildings are metal and concrete, supposed to be, you know, flame proof, more or less. Like, you're not supposed to be able to light anything on fire. The sheets and blankets and comforters and all that stuff, including the shirts, are also supposed to be not able to burn. But then again, we have all seen where people have rioted and these things have been caught on fire, you know, and people have broke windows and did a lot of destruction with things that weren't supposed to be able to catch on fire, obviously. But when you got individuals that are destructive, they're gonna try to find any type of way to fuck shit up, obviously. You know, some of the creativity that some of these inmates have that they use to focus more on hiding contraband or getting drugs in, you know, as I said, everyone's got a different mindset and everyone's different, and some people have different opportunity than others. But, you know, if they were to channel some of this creativity and focus it more on, you know, some of the positive things that can be done while still in prison and after getting out, some of these dudes would have, you know, great opportunities to better themselves, not only themselves, but their families and, you know, offspring to come. You know, the COs, they start messing with people that draw. The COs will come in, you know, do cell searches and crumble up people's drawings on purpose. Say if you're in jail though, right, and you don't have any money, they do provide you with writing utensils, paper, envelopes, and a stamp. It's called Indigent. I know West Virginia, if you have $0 in your account, you have to have, I take that back, you have to have less money than what the current price of a stamp costs for you to then be on Indigent. So if you have, I don't know, say if at the time stamps were 49 cents, right? If you had exactly 49 cents, so you could buy a stamp, but then you'd be screwed. You don't have 3 cents for the envelope or another 2 cents for the pencil or pen. So I know certain states are like, you have to have less than $3, less than $5, some less than $10 and $20 for them to be on Indigent. And they will then supply you with 5 stamped envelopes that you can then write letters out to your loved ones and converse with your loved ones. You're not, phone time, they're not just going to give you free phone time. When you do come in, I do believe you have, it's not just one free phone call. You do have a couple minutes of phone time that you can do until you have to then start putting money on your books. The only person that you can call for free is the bondsman. So, you got to think there's a lot of people will be using the bondsman as, you know, as three-way operators more or less. They'll call the bondsman knowing that they're going to call the family because obviously there's money involved. Now when you get to prison, so once again, all prisons are different. West Virginia, once you get to prison, you are then issued a pair of black state boots that, you know, they look like cheap versions of the Nike ACG boots. You know, they're all black and they crease so fast. The moment you look at them, they crease up. So they give you the black state boots. They give you 6 socks, 6 boxers. They give you 3 sets of khakis, top and bottom. So you get 3 short sleeve and then 2 long sleeve. And then obviously the matching khaki bottom half of it. So you get top and bottom. Jacket. In West Virginia, the jackets that they gave you were bright red. So obviously that they could see you. You know, pillowcase, they actually give you a pillow. Sheets, they give you a thick mat. I will say that West Virginia prison systems, they were definitely on point with their mats, okay? So all mats that I saw pretty much were Cadillacs. And I mean, like, they were yay daddy, big, tall, thick daddy boys. And what I'm talking about is Tempur-Pedic. When you go from jail where you got nothing to do and you're on the same pod all day for months and years on end with the same individuals damn near, and then you get to prison where you have nothing but freedom and they give you the fucking Tempur-Pedic when you hit the door? Whoa, what? Certain prisons I also know that you can order shoes from different companies and stuff. West Virginia, they used to have a contract with East Bay, so you used to be able to buy shoes and hats. They had to be approved. So obviously a lot of these gang members would get hats and shoes that, you know, obviously go with the same colors as they bang. So normally before you about to go to prison, your loved ones would come to the jail, give them a pair of brand new shoes in a box. Now you can't do that because people were sneaking drugs into the shoes and then passing them off. So now they have to come straight from these companies to the jail so that the inmate will then go off to prison with it. A lot of times you can leave out with your watch. If you have a watch on, obviously no diamonds, and I do believe the watch has to be valued under $150, I think. There's been a few videos going around where a lot of these people using drones and dropping packages off at, you know, different prisons and sometimes jails. So I seen this one online. So this dude was out on the he was out on the rec yard, right? So they're obviously watching this dude on the cameras. So you see him, he's got his shirt in his hands and he just keeps looking up and looking up. And then he runs over, something drops from the sky, he grabs it, boom, and then gets busted, obviously. But in prisons, like nowadays, man, there's so many ways that people can get shit sent in. You got all your stuff, you come into prison, now you hit your cell. Now, the difference between a jail cell and a prison cell is there's not much in a jail cell. Most of the time you have your hygiene products, you know, a little bit of commissary, and your legal documents. In prison, now you have TVs, Xboxes, PlayStations, boomboxes, you know, you've got curtains and you can turn your lights off whenever you want. And you have, oh my gosh, when I got the Mount Olive, tell me why that they had curtains for your windows. I said, what? You can turn your light off whenever you want? Chill. The difference in cells is you always hear people saying whenever you're in jail or in prison, whenever you're walking by cells, don't look in the cell. And that's true. That's very, very true. You don't want to look in someone else's living quarters. That is all their, at the moment, that is all their worldly possessions right there. That is their comfort space. That is their secret space. That is their personal space. Don't go looking in there unless you were invited, because I've seen people do that and then get snatched up and dragged in the this. All you see is this. Someone grabbed their shirt and imagine seeing that. Definitely seen that multiple times. Don't go snooping around in people's shit. You know what I'm saying? But in prison, now you've got pods that individual cells, or you've got dorms where it's got 70 people in it. So The only good thing about being in a higher classification prison or a higher classified inmate is now you get to be in a cell. So now you've got your own little apartment, man. You're moving up. So in these cells, these lifers, they're the only ones that are going to get single cell at these higher classification prisons. It's either people that are classified as a 5, or you have convicted murder and you're doing life in prison. Those are the only ways you're going to have a single cell. So thank God I was classified as a 5 because I had my own suite. I had the penthouse, you know what I'm saying? Whenever you pass these lifer cells though, and almost every single one is the same, you see documents everywhere. And it's because it's all their legal documentation. They're trying to fight their case because some of these dudes sometimes are innocent. So this is all their paperwork because they're the ones sitting in these cells reading through their documents, trying to see where their lawyer messed up and why they got sentenced for what they got sentenced for. So, like I said, you pass on these dudes' cells and it looks like a filing cabinet because they've got legal documentation everywhere. I remember the first time I'd ever seen a cockroach in person, not on TV or like in the wild or at the zoo, right? I was on dorm 5 and the shower's like a 10-man shower, but you don't have the shower with other individuals unless you want to, you know what I'm saying? So I'm standing there taking a shower, I'm washing up, you know what I'm saying? Minding my own business. There's 2 motherfucking big ass cockroaches sitting there staring at me. Yeah, nigga, I see you. Hey, Mom, you see this guy? Obviously, I'm shook. You know what I'm saying? These things are very close to me. Like, I'm in the shower, there's pipes running above your head. I look over and there's 2, I mean, they're about this big, 2 big ass cockroaches just staring at me like big beefy motherfuckers, like they was waiting for me to drop my soap or something. Like, bro, what are you doing? What blows my mind is I love seeing, don't get me wrong, I feel that the public loves seeing how prisoners are living, what the conditions are really like. And that's why I like doing these videos, bringing awareness to what prison actually is. Like, you're locked up like a caged animal. But a lot of people are screwing themselves over because these inmates are getting a hold of these cell phones, right? And they're posting, you know, whatever, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be. And I think it's cool, but a lot of these dudes are getting busted back to back to back. Like I said, there's another YouTuber, K-Frog. He had a cell phone damn near his whole ride down in Florida where he did time at. And I'm not, you know, I've watched a couple of his videos. I'm not sure the classification-wise he was, but he had a cell phone his whole goddamn ride. In the hole, on the yard, he had some big-ass machete joints. Like, you see, you know what I'm saying? This is stuff that's really going on in prison on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? Like, dudes really walking around with big-ass machetes. People really selling dope, like, you know what I'm saying? But these dudes are getting busted. You know, there's obviously a lot of people, I'm sure, have seen them. A lot of these dudes on TikTok and shit. On Instagram, they in the live feeds, and these police departments are popping up. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, we see you busted. Like, I think it's cool that inmates have the ability now to video chat with their loved ones. Like I said, with COVID going on and people being away, having that connection with home is very much vital to an inmate psyche. Because if you start losing hope on the streets, where you feel that you have no loved ones and you have no support system, then you should really start going down a dark hole. And like I said before, mental health is something very, very serious. You know, I'm not sure how prison systems work, considering when I film with these inmates, you know, I'm having them bring awareness to the viewers that are watching on what it's like doing time in prison currently, you know what I mean? And I know that we pay for the calls, well, I pay for the calls, but yet these prison systems, they let you know that these prison calls are monitored and recorded. So I'm just wondering, if I'm paying for the calls, it's not okay for me to record my conversations with friends and loved ones. If you're using these words as a positive influence to the ones that are listening, I don't feel like there should be any type of issues, you know what I mean? So, I greatly appreciate you guys watching this video. As always, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button so you'll be first informed when I upload. You guys, I hope you guys have a good day, a good week, and a good life. I send my utmost love, loyalty, respect. Until next time, keep y'all heads up. Have a good one.